Alrighty, we are live. We'll set up new intro music soon. Fan, turn the fan down. Alrighty, let's give it a little bit, and then we will get started. Ooh, looks like we already have a comment. Mary says, "Hey." Katie says, "Hi." Okay. How do you do, everybody? And welcome to the show. So, wow, it feels weird, like watching the news, listening to people, watching people go to and fro. It feels strange, like there's something in the air, and I think that something is hope. And this isn't a political stance. A lot of people have been, Republicans have been gloating, Democrats have been seething, but it doesn't matter. There's hope in the air, and I think it's due to call it whatever you want. You attribute it to whatever you want, but things are getting right. The wars are solving themselves. You know, we are actually pulling back from World War III for the first time in a very long time. I believe they actually moved the doomsday clock back. And we're now at 15 seconds to midnight, which we were at 3 seconds to midnight. So it got moved back. So the left wings people are gonna say it's because of this. The right wing people are gonna say it's because of that. But it's got nothing to do with politics. The smell of blood is fading. Hmm. The smell of blood is fading. Mary says, "All right, how are you guys doing?" We are doing absolutely great. I do apologize to everybody. I've been out of communicado for a few days. My gut was absolutely killing me. I'm glad I did it. I tried to reintroduce some vegetables into my diet, and it went kaboom! It blew up in my face or in my gut. You get the idea.
Your gut blew up in my face.
That's more accurate. So for the first time in a very long time, I am going to draw a card for the beginning of the show. Shannon shuffled them for me, and we are ready to go. Page of Questing. That's an interesting one to interpret. Now, so there's the artwork for all you guys, for those of you who love to see the artwork. And this comes from the Mage of the Ascension Tarot Handbook, which is from my favorite set of fiction. So the Page of Questing, that's very, very fascinating, and it was not reversed. So for those of you who have never experienced one of my readings before, I don't take my meaning from like what the book says the card should mean. I get inspired by the artwork. The artwork is what gets through my pineal gland. So what that's saying is we're going to have to be careful. Um, Basically, to move forward, we're going to have to move back. As you guys can see, the light worker in the picture is sifting through the old bones, the various kinds, broken pottery and whatnot. The way forward lies in the primeval, the order of things, not the order of things, the origin and foundation of things, which I think is actually very accurate. I wouldn't exactly call myself an old-fashioned kind of guy or a traditionalist by any means, but I think to quote one of my favorite movies, with everything being revealed to the world, I think the world needs a little bit of old-fashioned. What do you think, Shannon?
I think that is pretty accurate.
I agree. And we're going to get our hands on some lapel mics, by the way, so that you can hear us both equally. But we're still working on it. See, I think that in the greater sense, what the card, what the spirits, what the Holy Spirit, whatever you want to call it, is telling us is that essentially we have to get back to what makes us us. Which I've been saying that for a while, ever since the Lionsgate portal. That last Lionsgate was very, very special. I mean, they're all conjunctive, I guess. I'm not sure if that's a good word, but they're all conjunctive and productive. But that last one, wow, that was in a serious conjunction, for lack of a better word. I mean, the stars were right. It's been more important than ever for everyone to stand in their own and be true to themselves, you know, and that's what we're all about. That's what it's all about. When I say hope is coming, I mean it, and it's closer than you think. But that doesn't mean we're not going to be have to get past some nasty parts, and we're almost through. The thing is, and this is, for those of you who do not like Trump, I have this sneaky suspicion that right when everything it looks like it's just about to be completely over, kumbaya, peace on earth. I think that's when something's gonna come up and go boo, you know. But what do I know? So yeah, we've been trying to get through the Universal Consciousness Part 2 episode, but things have been going a little bit wacky. We got a lot of the uh, issues that we were having the last two episodes solved. So hopefully, things will go a lot more smooth. So really quick, before we start, I want to do a little bit of review, and it's one of the constant concepts that have been on the show since the very, very beginning, and that is the concept of the mythologue. We all know what mythology is, okay? We all know what myths are. The mythologue is the noun. Okay, so like for example, if you look in the Greek story of the 12 labors of Hercules, the mythology is it's the 12 labors of Hercules. The mythologue is Hercules, or that really really stinky stable. I think that deserves to be a proper noun by itself. Hmm. So what a mythologue is, folks, is it is the ancestors or the children or even the modern day way of explaining something or telling a very very vital story that's important to humankind. So you could look at, for example, the story of Perseus. Okay, that's pretty good. But you could also look at Luke Skywalker for the same exact story. These stories are typical. They're representatives of cornerstones of the human experience, even even ish experience. And Shannon, as a very successful writer, you have anything to add on that?
No, mythologue sounds pretty good. Analog is what you would use to, like, if you had a, say, a character in a story as an analog for, say, an angel or a demigod or something like that. All right. But mythologue is where you have these same parallels, but between mythologies.
Okay, that works. So essentially, what I'm talking about right here is the ultimate mythologue, capital G God. That goes into universal consciousness and whatnot. And I'm not going to be sitting here preaching about a big Jew with a beard saying don't masturbate from beyond the clouds. But I really want to address that universal consciousness. It is very very important to my work and into the show. And I don't think it's ego tripping to say that we're coming up on a point where we can begin to actually prove, you know, a lot of this. We're getting there. We're getting there. For now, we're going to have to suffice with the proof that we do have, and quite frankly, that's a big enough chunk on our plate because figuring out how to uh, release all this information is difficult. So mythologues. A little now that we've done the review on that, we were talking about electrons, more specifically about the theory that's gaining ground lately that there's only the one electron, and that's kind of difficult for a lot of people to understand, as I've discovered the last few weeks talking to people. So I guess in a way it was good there was so many distractions because it gave me a chance to sort of refine my technique of explanation. So just real quick, everybody knows about what an atom supposedly looks like, right? You got the nucleus, protons, neutrons, and you got the electrons going around. We've all seen the model with like the dot with the little dots going around it. Cool. So those little dots are the electron, the ones going around. It's the electron. It was believed for a very long time that mankind would never actually be able to take a photograph of an atom for a variety of reasons. What they didn't expect is electron uh, photography to catch up. So now, folks, in the last 20 years, we've gotten an actual photograph of atoms and molecules. We know they're there, but that's created more questions than anything else. The physicists expected to see like a dot with a dot going around it. Instead, what they found was a very rich volumetric spheroid, which sort of cascaded into quantum observation. The deeper you try to look, that's raised even more and more and more questions. What I want to ask you guys is, what if the electron isn't like, oh, it's a number of electrons, it's the electron weight of the atom. What if the electron is a dimension like time or space? What if the electron is a dimension, not an object? And then, of course, a lot of the physicists, or pseudo-physicists watching will be like, but that raises so many questions. Yes, but this show is not time to answer them all. What I can say is that in that model where the electron itself is a dimension, it doesn't change the atomic weight of things at all. See, the atomic weight of things, like in the periodic table, that was based on observation. Like they didn't just sit here and go, okay, we're going to assign hydrogen 1 and we're going to assign helium 2. It was based on observation. So the idea of the electron being a dimension rather than an object needs no further math. It already is taken care of in the physicists' equations, which is why they're getting closer to the concept of universal consciousness and that scientific word that I've been loving. I can't remember what have we been talking about. What is it lately? What is it called? Panpsychism. Thank you. I forget the nouns, but that's where these disciplines are becoming so important. Hey Ray. Yeah. So with the discovery there's okay, so there's a little phenomenon called Shannon, help me out. What is it where you touch when you tickle one electron and the other one laughs?
Quantum entanglement.
Quantum entanglement. Thank you. Sorry. All right. So what the physicists have discovered is a process called quantum entanglement. Now I'm not going to try to explain it. Bottom line though is if at this point an atom is originated, and then you were to split that atom, whatever you do to this one, no matter how far away it is, the other atom feels the effects instantaneously, as in outside of time. All right. There's no passage of time, not even a Planck second. It's literally simultaneous. Okay. Now that led them into further and further questions, which is now where we're at right now. What if the electron is a dimension? I'm not sure if a dimension is the right best thing to call it, but that's the best word we've got. Because what was that? No, well, window doesn't quite work either. So the problem is, how do you describe new dimensions to humans using human language, which doesn't account for these dimensions? And it's been a big problem. But that's one of the reasons why I love this panpsychism thing so much, is that it's a way to describe one of the dimensions. Easily said, I'm kind of ashamed I didn't think of this, the dimension of the mind. Now, Cass, why are we talking about this? We're supposed to be talking about ghosts and Bigfoot and shit. What's going on here? Is this like Science 101?
It's connected.
It's not Science 101, but it is all connected. Remember what I keep saying many times over the years. The process of first contact and disclosure is far more about spirituality and old indigenous myths and processes than it is about ray guns and laser beams and quantum warp drives. Although I do like all that stuff, that's for later. Okay, right now the main thing that we all need to be concerning ourselves with is, quite frankly, our own spiritual awakening and thereby contact with other multidimensional entities, because it's way more about dimensions than it is about planets. Ray says, by the way, the photo of the atom is a strontium atom, cool, suspended in an ion trap. Cool. It's actually a time-lapse photo, which is why it looks like a white dot. Very cool. I don't think we're thinking of the same photo. I think you're thinking of it's a different one, but your point is the same. I'm thinking of a different photograph, I think. The photograph, I believe he's talking about, using the same technique, they took a photograph of a photon using the same technique, if I'm correct. The point is that we're actually getting that visual proof that they are there. The building blocks of the universe are in fact real, which is really important. So why is this, okay, I lied, turn the fan back on. Just turn on low. So why is this whole ion thing important? Now electron thing important. Why? Why? So let me ask you guys a question. What is the difference between this world and Lord of the Rings? Aside from the fact that Lord of the Rings is fiction. I'm not sitting here trying to say Lord of the Rings is real. Well, what is the difference between the real world and any of these, artistically inspired fantasy worlds? Okay. For that matter, what's the difference between this world and the world described in the Mahabharata or, the Book of Enoch? Let's see. Ray says I can't read any further without paying XP. Fair enough. So what is the difference? And folks, I don't have a way to prove this. And just because it's one of those things where I'm kind of relying on the success of the other things that I've taught you guys to sort of bridge the gap here. The difference is a slightly different electron constant in the universe. A world that has magic is, again, like I said, the only difference is a slightly higher electron constant. With a higher electron constant, so number one, the environment would be radically different. Air would be thicker and more easy to breathe, believe it or not. More importantly, the effects of your brainwave, the effects of the brainwave fields would be much more dramatic on the environment. The higher the electron constant, the more, quote, magic works, like in the real world works, and like in the physical, well, that version of the physical world. In the book that we wrote, the EarthBreaker, that describes a world with a 0.01% higher electron constant, which is why the many of the things work in there. Why you can have vampires and dragons. There's enough energy in that world for the quote magical things to take a physical body. Now, how do we prove that here? I don't know. I don't even know where we're going to start trying to prove that. But we'll get there. And yes, for those of you who caught it, a giant piece of my tooth came out. So yeah, got to get to the dentist. What was that?
Working on starting to, figure out the other dimensions.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. But that's going a ways down the road. So one of the things that's happening when you're accessing your dreams, when you're having those dreams, especially those really, really deep dreams that you're not sure if it's just a dream or if it's a vision. Okay. In those cases, especially when you're man, my aphasia is just kicking my ass today.
It's kicking my ass too.
When you're in control of your dreams,
lucid dreaming.
Thank you. Oftentimes, when you're lucid dreaming, you are accessing a version of reality with a higher electron constant. It's one of the reasons why so many of the things in the dream world can be the way they are. It's why the skeptics will say you can't learn anything from a dream that you haven't already learned. The problem is that all the best stuff in the world was made by people who got the idea from their dreams. Hedy Lamarr inventing Wi-Fi on a napkin because she saw it in a dream. I mean, something's going on. Something very serious is going on there. A great deal of the scientific advancements like Tesla, Einstein, these were all inspired by their dreams and were able to perform experiments in the dream world that were accurate to the 3D world. That's why Tesla never had to build anything twice. You know, you would get all of it. You would get it all done in the dream world through a very very complex form of lucid dreaming, and pow, you know, it's the art of the mental experiment. So the question, folks, is what does that have to do with today? Almost nothing. Um, almost nothing. That has almost no bearing on humans' lives right now. To the point that why we're even talking about it? Well, the reason why is because it's about to have very, very, very large bearing on everyone's life. You see, when you are true to yourself, right, it creates a form of harmony with your brain waves, which interact with the reality around you and create a circumstance. We call this manifesting, or the secret. It has lots of different names. Mind over matter. hmm What applications does this have? Damn near infinite. You ask me a question, it'll be like, taking a college class on whether or not you can fry things. The answer is yes, except for fries. You can't fry fries. That'll get you expelled. So, what does that mean? Again, almost nothing, but being aware of it can help you tune your mind for the tasks ahead. Just being aware of the phenomenon is almost always enough to start to put your thumb on the scale just a little bit and make the world working the way you want, you know, and that's going to be very, very important soon. Things smell like hope. That is true. Hope is coming. We still have a bit to get through, though. These next few months are going to be rough, and I don't think I know a single psychic out there who thinks it's just going to be all easy peasy lemon squeezy post election. Um, there's a lot of people causing a lot of fuss in the world, and they're not all going to go away just because you know of the new president. Sorry, it's not going to happen. He's not that powerful. But what to do, what to believe, what to think, I can't tell you these things. What I can tell you, though, is that by being true to yourself, you can find the answer. And my journey to explain all of this in like a easy to digest Lego instruction style is ongoing. I'm going to get there eventually. It's not there yet. Suffice it to say that electron, that one electron, is the only one you got to worry about, and that's not just for purposes of science and physics. It's also for purposes of the dimension of your heart. Every one of us knows right from wrong. Every one of us knows what's right for us. Figuring it out is the hard part. Let me rephrase that. That didn't work out very well. Everyone knows what's right for us in our subconscious. Aha. Finding that and bringing it to the forefront is the problem. But is it a problem or is it a really, really great puzzle? What do you think?
I would say puzzle.
That's the way I like to look at it too. See, everything you experience has some relativeness, relativaciousness, whatever. It's relative to you. Otherwise, your brain filters it out and you don't notice. The question is figuring out what that is. Okay. And when I say universal consciousness, I'm not joking around. Like just the talk about the consciousness has a consciousness. Thinking about going to the bathroom has its own consciousness. It's just a matter of figuring out the repeating patterns and plugging them in, thus creating a theoretical genetic model for any given concept you're looking at, you know? We'll get there. We'll get there. The main thing that I want everyone to take away, especially those of you who've been asking me to go back to teaching my classes, the main thing to take away from all this is that you are the electron. Just remember that. Okay, I'm going to pass the microphone to Shannon, and Shannon's going to talk about something while I take a minute. Totally throwing her on the bus.
Thank you so much for that. Atomic particle that electrons belong to. Now, in this same family are muons and tau particles. And muons are about 200 times bigger. What?
Okay, sound back, folks?
Is the sound back? All right, cool. All right, so muons are also leptons, like electrons are, but they're about 200 times bigger. Still way smaller than a proton or a neutron. And what scientists have been able to observe in the magnetic moment, which is where they can get muons to hold still long enough to actually see what they're doing, is that they don't behave as expected. You know, sometimes, and they call this rare decay, sometimes they don't break down like scientists are expecting them to. And what this has raised is a question similar to if you're in a house and you can see the curtains moving, all right, what does that tell you? It's they're being acted upon by some force, but there's no force that we can currently perceive or quantify right now that is acting on these muons. So therefore, the forces are coming from somewhere else. And that is where the whole idea of muons and tau particles are leading into the possibility of there being other dimensions, and that these muons and tau particles are giving us an idea of these other dimensions because they're acting like forces are being used upon them, but it's not us. So that is where the particles fit into the extra dimensional discussion today.
Thank you, Shannon. And that reminds me, one of the most important takeaways from these studies is that when extreme forces and energies are applied to atoms, what they're finding is that more hmm, expressions of the atoms are coming into focus, which to me, in my mind, this is proof of higher and lower dimensions or sidereal dimensions. Either way. I was doing like a semi-informal interview recently, and the person was asking me, he's like, well, how many dimensions can your people perceive? We can perceive 13 or 3. And I was like, oh, we can only perceive 16. And I was like trying to apologize. He was like, 16? Yeah, sorry. Wish it was higher. The trouble is describing them and building technologies with which to interact with them, which is why these discoveries are so exciting to me. Basically, for the first time, we're moving past talks of angels and heavens and hells into actual usable data. Data which can take this planet's technology to the next level and eliminate things like hunger and waste and disease. One of the first things that happens with civilized societies in general when they discover these concepts is that fighting over resources goes away. The illusion of scarcity goes away, you know? See, here's the thing. At no point in the world has anyone ever needed to go hungry, ever. Never, and not at any point. Okay. Now, for those of you who are skeptics out there, I am not saying that the world is hippy dippy. We all need to love each other, blah, 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 blah. That's not it. What I'm saying is that there's never been a food problem in the world, ever. What's always been the problem, and this is with not just humans, going all the way down to bacteria, it's distribution. There's always enough crop to go around to everyone on the planet, every man, woman, child, and animal on the planet at all times. Same thing with meat. For those of you who, like myself, they need a little bit of that extra nutrition. And the same thing, with that as well. It's just a matter of distribution. There's always a fresh kill somewhere, and quite frankly, I do, sorry to the vegans out there, but most of it goes to waste. It's like a roadkill or or an accident or that fox that got frozen in the water. There's always enough food to go around. The question is finding it and distributing it. So scarcity is an absolute illusion. Especially once a given species gets into matter energy shifting technologies. Like example on Star Trek, computer, Earl Grey, hot, and then you got yourself an Earl Grey. I used to wonder who Earl Grey was. I thought he was like a noble, and Shannon had to be like Cassidy. That's a kind of tea. That's real. What can I say? I'm a weirdo. So the discovery of these concepts and the solidifying of these concepts into hard realities and technologies is the beginning of a completely new era. You're never going to get, well, not for the foreseeable future, going to get rid of things like greed and the need of competition and one upping each other. That's not going to happen in the near future. However, what we can do as a society is redirect those urges into more you know mm, productive things. Like for example, friendly competition around the office. Everybody gets like a little bit better. Keep it non-toxic, non-aggressive, and you're good. It helps everybody and the greater body. And it's the same kind of thing. You know, it'll give way from who can make the more money into who can make the greatest advancement in their field, who can come up with that new sound in music without Marty McFly. Who can come up with that brand new way of creating pigments and extracting them from the environment. It'll be
Who can make the best sandwich?
who can make the best sandwich. Whoa, definitely. These competitions, like I said, these competitions, they will become more productive and constructive. The race for money isn't going to be over anytime very soon, but it's going to change. The landscape is already changing. It's just a matter of making it work for you instead of against you. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end it there because I'm starting to get a gut issue that's pushing up into my heart, and that is no bueno. That's really no bueno. Um, Before I go, some people have been asking, and there's new viewers. Shannon, could you explain what's going on with the swollen?
Okay, so for the longest time, they thought that because of where the pain was, Cass's issue was somewhere in his intestinal tract. Actually, that is clean as a whistle, you know, according to cameras. Yeah, yeah, that kind of camera. However, what they did find is three different organs are enlarged, and they deal with filtering out stress hormones from the blood. So when he gets stressed out, they start to swell up. Everything starts to lock up because there's only so much room for traffic to move around in there. And yeah, so basically we have to get the stress levels down, then he can start to relax and everything starts to shrink back down. But it is a very serious problem and not one that they really know how to deal with right now. So we're just kind of trying to stay ahead of pain and doing what we can day to day.
So yeah, with that information, that's giving us better ways to combat this. So all right, like I said, so I will see you guys again soon. We are working up to doing 3 shows a week again. It was just a matter of healing from all of that nonsense, you know. So anyhow, we will see you guys next time. And I'm looking for the thing. I forgot I don't have intro and outro music anymore. We're gonna make new intro and outro music. Anyway, I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.